There we go. Okay, now we're set. So good morning. Thank you for attending. I hope that a couple of people will hop on with us later, which is totally fine. My name is Dixie Patrick, and I am with the Austin Independent Business Alliance. And this is our second of a series of local business update, coffee chat, informal, quick Tuesday morning meetings. So thank you for coming, Mary. It's always good to see you again, and Sue, thanks for coming as well. We had a few people who had an issue with registration, so I'm hoping that it doesn't keep you from joining. If you're on in the background and we just can't see your video, happy that you're here too. We will, of course, pull this together when it's over and post it. So if you couldn't come this morning because you had meetings or whatever, you'll still be able to get the information. So we're going to do two quick things today. The first that I wanted to talk about is the funding, the grant funding that's coming from the city of Austin. So a quick backtrack just a little bit. There's additional CARES funding from the federal government that is given to the city of Austin. And what has been happening for the last couple of weeks is the city trying to figure out how to allocate that funding, how much goes to housing, how much goes to testing, how much goes to public health, how much goes to all of those things, and small business being one of those buckets. So the amount of funding is huge. The need, of course, is also really large. So last week, we did a call for an advocacy call. So last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry, we had an idea that we had about $23 million coming to small business here in Austin, which is a fantastic number. The program that they're talking about is a grant program that tops out at about $40,000 for small business in Austin. So that's exactly what we've been asking for since the beginning of the pandemic, since South by was canceled, that we need generous and forgiving funding for small business in Austin. And so here it is, it's coming. So we had 23 million in a bucket, and we were looking at how that would be allocated. Unfortunately, at the last minute, before this allocation was approved, that 23 million number was reduced to 16 million. So the advocacy call was about making sure that, we have done everything that we can to make sure that everyone that is sitting on the dais understands that that supporting small business is supporting the people who work for small business, and it is one of the ways that we can keep people on payroll and that we can keep our local economy going and chugging right along through this whole thing, aside from kind of the cultural benefits of having all the amazing local businesses that we have hi Michael.
Hey,
how you doing?
Hello. How are y'all?
Good. So aside from the cultural benefits and everything, just that the economically speaking, small business is huge. So there's just some quick numbers. There's more than 40,000 small businesses in Austin that have less than 25 employees, and they employ more than 300,000 people. So that's a lot of good. So we were hoping that we could keep that number at 23 so we could support more people. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way, and we ended up with 16. So 16 million, still a great pocket of money to have grant funding for small business. So where we are now is, they move from the funding's out there, and now the program is being designed or being finalized of what are the requirements, how many employees do you have to have, what are your revenue numbers, what part of town do you live in, how far outside the city limits can you go. All of those details are being worked out. And so the departments within the city that are doing that, we're being just short of annoying to say, how are you doing this to make sure that we really are hitting the small businesses in Austin. So I think everyone has a little bit of maybe, we're still carrying some of the bad taste in our mouth from the PPP program, which had fantastic intentions. And, the idea of it was to support small business and to make these loans fast and easy to get and then forgivable on the other end, and ended up going to people who didn't really need it, that had other sources of funding or could do anything else. So a real hope here to design a program that can do the most good for the most number of small local businesses here in Austin. So we have, put forth all of the ideas that we have that are, ways to make sure that the funding goes to the people that you're intending the funding to go to. We're totally open to, if you have a specific concern, of course it will be, because it is city funding, it will be available to all small businesses that are in the city. I don't know what the gate will be for number of employees or for revenue numbers, but if we just pick a number out of a hat and you said if you had less than 30 employees and you had revenue under 200 million a year or something like that, 500,000 a year, whatever it is, it's where did those go? So if anybody has ideas, if you have something that you have experienced before that tells you like where a gate would work on that, we do have a relationship with some of the people who are designing that program and can kind of bend that ear more than we have already if there's something specific that you need to get across. It's my hope that we have a draft idea of what those eligibility requirements are going to look like, either at the end of this week or next week, and that the program gets rolled out pretty quickly. So one thing that we are also saying is how important it is to do it. I stopped counting payroll cycles a while ago, but for a while, what we were saying is we're now 3 payroll cycles in. So now you've asked small businesses to pay payroll 3 times now and they have 0 revenue. You've asked them to pay rent 3 times now and they have 0 revenue. So yes, make the program as perfect as you can make it, but also get it out, because you're going to lose people. We're going to have businesses close that wouldn't otherwise close without this funding. So that's all good news. It was challenging there in the middle. And of course that the vote on this funding is happening. It almost was second fiddle to the protests and the other things that were happening within the city. So what a strange time to be alive in. But that's kind of the update on what's happening with the City of Austin funding. So hopefully we have some draft program requirements, and then very quickly after that we have the actual program that you can apply for. So obviously as soon as that is out, we'll be screaming that from the rooftops. From what we understand, just in terms of getting ready to apply for the program, I think that you will need some just very basic financial information. I don't think that anyone who applied for the PPP knows that you had to do some pretty heavy lifting in terms of financial paperwork to get together. You had to answer a lot of questions that not all small businesses really keep records in the same way that like a Fortune 500 company would. So one of my questions to them was, is there anything that people need to get together? You need to know some basic stuff. You need to know your revenue numbers. Maybe you need to know your numbers from last year, your payroll numbers, but there's nothing specific that I know of yet. If I do hear of anything, of course, I'll let everyone know, right away so that you can have that prepared. I'll stop. Do you have any questions about that? Okay.
Really, mostly just want to see something come in, because we appreciate the money that we got on loan, but this is going to be pretty heavy on us, the longer this goes on. And we're seeing a little bit of movement in tourism.
Right.
But what's really holding it down is the city keeps pushing out, and the state too, they keep pushing out the date when they're going to open things. That's great. We have restaurants and great. We have bars, but we need the library. We need the Capitol. We need everything to open so that people have something to do when they come here, especially the hotter it gets, the more we need things that are inside.
Right.
And when the city keep on pushing out that date to open, it's really devastating, because I think more people would already be here. We are seeing the majority of people coming from nearby, either from other places in Texas or states that are bordering us.
Okay.
Not
So
as much
car
not
travel
as
and
like
air travel.
car travel for sure is much higher. We get a little bit of air travel, but not nearly as much as car travel.
Yeah, so that's the one of the things that we're talking about when we're out doing this advocacy work is exactly what you're saying. And like, it's not, it seemed like maybe at the beginning that it was going to be a short-term thing, but it's not, it's just not a short-term, like it's already a long-term thing at this point. And it's going to continue to stretch a little bit, because beyond any order that we could do, that the city could do or that the state could do, the amount of time that it's going to take just kind of the general populace to get back and comfortable back into their normal routines of going out of their houses and shopping at places and traveling like you're talking about, until people are comfortable in public space again, we're going to have to support small business. It just is going
to. And they're not going to get, yeah, I agree. And they're not going to get comfortable in public space as long as the cities are, making it sound like you're going to die if you walk out the door.
Yeah, one of the
it's
definitely is
hear the kind of language that's being used. It makes people not want to go anywhere. And I know even for retail, it's hard for retail because there's not that many people moving around, because people don't want to get out. And we're doing a lot. We're actually adding a lot of expense because we have to, we want to make it a safe experience. And so, there are things that we are doing to try to give people the comfort that they want.
Right.
And I feel like it's the same with retail. When I'm down at Wild About Music and they're requiring mask and hand sanitizer to everybody that comes in, I think they've already figured out that 30% of the people that would have come in are turning away because they don't want to have to use the face mask.
Interesting.
And it's like,
I had not heard that.
That's really rough. Yeah, that's tough on a business. I mean, they're having to do just like us. We still have to have staffing and be operational, just even if it's only for one person. Mm-hmm. And so it ends up being expensive. I mean, I'm not complaining and saying I don't want to do it. I just say it's really rough, and to keep on taking more debt is scary for me.
Absolutely.
We've already taken on a lot of debt, and now we're, I would like to see some help that's not debt.
Right. So thankfully, that's what this program is. It's 100% grant. Originally, when the 23 million number was floated around, a lot of it was a loan program. And I don't know who championed the switch from loan to grant. It was a bunch of loan, and then they had just a little bit for grants. I don't know who championed that switch on council, but it definitely happened, and it happened pretty quickly. And so now the bulk of that money is a grant program, which is, I wish that we had done this. I mean, I wish we had done things different from the top, from the absolute, top down, but I wish we had done this as a city a little differently earlier, but here we are. And so I'm glad that that's coming. And I hear you, Mary, in saying that you said it's rough, right? And that's probably the understatement of the year, but it is, you're doing everything you can. Yeah, you're doing everything right. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I worry about is, I worry about the fact that we applied for bridge loan. We actually qualified for bridge loan, but we didn't take it because the day that they qualified us for bridge loan, we got our approval for the SBA loan. And so we didn't take it, but I'm afraid that when we want to get grant money, they're going to say, well, you qualify for loans. What do you need grant money for? Just take more loans out. And I don't want to see that happen. I mean, I feel like we're already under a huge burden to try to recover on what we already have gotten. And, I don't want to take more loan money, but I know we're not going to, the money we got was not what we asked for. It was, a part of it, but we're not going to make it through. I mean, it's not about just the 6 months that we're going to see. And I'm sure it's going to be at least 6 months. We may see very, very little income. That and then the next 6 months, we maybe see a trickle more. That means that we're going into huge long periods of time where we're not, and we're never going to qualify for a loan again. I mean, it's going to be like, whoa, you got a lot of debt and no income.
Right.
So I don't know.
It's causing some more
pretty scary.
long-term issues. So I just reached around and got my notebook to make sure that I get that. I think that's a real nugget of information. That when they're talking about the loan program, and there's nothing, I mean, the grant program, sorry, there's nothing that I've heard so far that would tie the grant program to anything to do with whether you're eligible or not for any, or whether you took or didn't take the PPP or the EIDL loan or any of the bridge loan that the city offered. But I'm just going to double check on that to make sure that there is that there are no.
But because the same people are administering it, I mean, we had, one of the reasons that we got our approval so quickly was because we had applied for a loan back in October with the city, and they had approved us for it. And we did not take that loan either because we didn't like the
term.
How should I put, the strings attached were too onerous for us. It was unreasonable what they were requiring us to do. And so we just said, we can't do that. We went and got an SBA loan from somebody else, and which was much, much easier to get. But because they had all of our paperwork from October, we were basically just updating our application. And we talked to all the same person was the one in charge of that. And I'm going, if this is the same person again, he already knows everything about us, and and it concerns me.
Okay. I think that the grant program will be administered outside the city. I think that they're having, and there's a name that they use for the people that they're using, and I don't think they've been chosen yet. But I believe that the administration of it will be outside the city. Maybe for that reason, in part, right? Since they know that so many small businesses already have these relationships, that to kind of put a wall between that and these new applications. So I've written that down. I'll make sure to get an answer on it. And if I find out one way or the other, Mary, I'll be sure to let you know.
The other concern I have is that we live in rural Travis County, but 100% of our business is in Austin. We don't have business anywhere else.
Okay.
And not having a city address is concerning because what are they going to do? Are they going to say we don't qualify because we don't actually live in this? We live in the ETJ, so they still have control over us, but we don't have the protection of that boundary of the city limits to say that we're in the city limits. And I can tell you that I write to council members and they absolutely never, ever respond to me.
And do you think because you're not in a district?
I'm not in the city at all. I mean, my address isn't a city address. It's not an Austin address. And even our address is deceiving. It says that we live in Leander. We don't live in Leander. We're 15 miles from Leander. Wow. But it's because of how rural addressing goes. We're stuck with this address that makes it look like we live in Williamson County. We don't. We live in Travis County. And, it's a strange thing. I mean, it throws everything off. It's the 911 addressing thing that causes this. That they put an address, and now I could, petition to change my address. The problem is that then I would have to change every document from the last 30 years to a new address. And if anybody's ever done that, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. So I'll put that down to ask about too. And so you don't have, do you have a business address in the city of Austin, or everything is on your sole proprietor?
We use our home address. Yeah. We don't have a business address in town because they also don't count anything except for a physical building. They won't count it if you have a PO box. It has to be a physical space in town. And we have a place where we keep our vehicles that we rent a parking space, but I can't really call that my address. I can't get any mail there.
Okay. So I'll ask that too. And then have you already reached out to Travis County? Have you followed any of that? So Travis County is actually ahead of Austin. They got their money beforehand. They created a grant program. They're like blowing me going, I
Yeah,
don't
I don't know how to even apply for it. I've not heard anything on how to apply for it.
I have a little bit of information on that. We don't have a ton of members that are in the same situation as you, but we do have some. So I've been following the Travis
Okay.
County too. So I will send you that. Okay. Outside this. Okay. That was really helpful, Mary. Thanks for sharing those things. I've got things to follow up on outside the city limits. So yeah, part of what happened, what feels like a lifetime ago, what was probably like 3 weeks ago, is that Travis County first was like, we've got this money and we're doing a grant program for small business. And at which point, you know, everyone is like, yes, do that. Everybody look at Travis County. Look what Travis County is doing. They're doing a great job. So they're a little bit ahead of us. I don't think their application is open yet, but I think it's closer than Austin's is. So I'll get you what I have about that.
We want to get in as early as we can because that would go away fast.
Yes, it's all gonna go away fast, and that is specifically excluding people who are in the city limits. So it's just for businesses like your business address that are existing in Travis County, but outside the city limits of Austin. Okay, so I'll get that to you. That's good. And let me see.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's almost 10 o'clock. So let me mention just real quickly, we had two big topics today. One being to make sure we update on the city funding. So I think we've done that. I have some follow-up items that I'll take care of and I'll send out. I'm going to post notes from this meeting. I haven't done that from the other ones. I'm not in a place where I can take them while we're talking, but I'll make sure to include the links in those. So if you're listening to this video at the end, I'll put the link to where those notes exist so you can get the links to the different programs that we're talking about and the kind of the details of the things that we're talking about. So the other item today is we had a couple of people get in touch with me about probably in answer to the newsletter that we sent out about how does the work of advancing racial justice in the world tie in with what the work that AIBA does. And I think I explained that in the newsletter that, inclusion and diversity are core values of AIBA. So the work that is happening right now with people all over the country and all over the world is in part of the work that we do here. We have to create an economy, a local economy that works for all of the business owners that are here in the local economy, and everything that we can do to advance these causes, we're definitely going to do. So one thing I wanted to say is I had a few people reach out and kind of, where can I start as a business owner? Talk a little bit about how it can be uncomfortable that sometimes what we try to do as, the leader of an organization is to avoid anything that causes conflict or that makes anyone uncomfortable. And I totally understand that. So I wanted to offer this very quick thing that is a great place to start. So if you are a business owner or, manager, and you want to be more knowledgeable and you want to be more involved and you don't really know how to do it, and you don't just want to, so many of our members, there is no HR department. You are the HR department. So there's no one that you can call and say, I would like to start a diversity program, or I want to do a thing about inclusion. So how do you do it on your own? And so we found this program. It's called a 21-day challenge to racial equity. And it's very simple to use. It can be adapted to whatever size organization you have. It can also just be used just for yourself. So it's 21 days and it's laid out, it's very flexible, and the idea behind it is that it takes 21 days to make a new habit. So every day for 21 days, you read something or you watch something or you follow someone on social media. You make one little action that incorporates what's happening to people who are not on the powerful end of the power spectrum right now, and incorporating those experiences into your life so that you can just continue to think about it. And at the end of the 21 days, you have a different perspective on the world and you can decide where to go from there. So very low level involvement, but a great first step and a great way to get yourself educated in a succinct kind of way, it can be very overwhelming to, there's so much that I have to learn. I don't know what to say, or I don't know what to not say, and all of that stuff. So educating yourself is the first step. And this 21-day challenge is really easy first way to do it. And it doesn't matter if you are brand new and have never, or your eyes are completely open to this problem of injustice in the world right now, you've never thought about it before, or if you're completely woke and you consider yourself to be the utmost, that you're the most culturally, amazing person ever, you still have something to learn, and there's still a way that you can do that. So we'll post the link to that in the notes as well, and encourage you to do that. And we know, and we are in the same boat as a lot of people, how busy these times are. So it's something that I've taken on, that I'm doing with my family, which is always fun to have multi-generational people talking about how some of these things come together, and different perspectives on some of that, especially from my family members who, were alive during the original civil rights movement in the 60s. So highly recommend it. I'll post a link to it. Low commitment, fantastic educational opportunities though. We're going to come back next week. I hopefully will have a speaker here, someone who I can have a quick conversation with, that can talk more about how to incorporate some of those ideas and the ideas of where the world is going in terms of racial justice and racial equity, and how you can get on that train and make sure that your workplace is on that train, so that you're providing the best workplace you can for the people. We know how much small business and all of our AIBA members, how much the owners care about the employees that work for them. So how you can be the best employer that you can possibly be for those people that you care so much about. So we'll post that in the notes, and it is 5 minutes after 10. I'm late. So thank you for staying, Mary. I'm really trying to get it on time, but what are you going to do?
Well, I hope that you can find out what happened with the other people that tried to get on and couldn't stay on,
I will. I'm going to email them right now and see why they hopped on and hopped off. And then hopefully, we're going to do this every Tuesday in June. We'll do the update. I'm going to be drinking coffee anyway, so I'm happy to do it. You guys are amazing. And we'll try to, so hopefully when we come back next week, we'll know at the very least, we'll know what the parameters of the program are going to be. So we can say, here's what you need to get ready. And here's the date that we're thinking applications were open.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Really
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'll get back to you just personally about the Travis County program also.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Steve.
All right, bye.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye, everyone.
See you later. Bye.